Here's something that might surprise you and maybe even frustrate you. Many TOEFL candidates lose points on the read in daily life task, not because their English is weak, but because they don't know how this task actually works. They approach it the wrong way and it hurts their score. The truth is, high-scoring candidates treat this task completely differently. They don't read every word from start to finish. They don't try to understand the entire text before looking at the questions. And they definitely don't panic when the text looks unusual or hard to follow. They use specific reading strategies to find the right answers quickly. We've helped thousands of students prepare this way through our TOEFL packages. They discover how strategic preparation can make a real difference in their results. In this video, I'll show you exactly what high-scoring candidates do differently in the Read in Daily Life task and how you can start applying the same approach. You'll discover 10 essential tips that separate low-scoring candidates from high-scoring candidates. If you're tired of scoring low in the reading test, keep watching. This might be the approach you have been looking for. Let's start with tip number 1. Understand what the task is testing. Before you can do well on the Read in Daily Life task, you need to understand what it is. This task gives you short everyday texts, things like emails, advertisements, or social media posts. You need to answer 2 or 3 multiple choice questions about the text. Now, here's what's important to understand. This task is not testing your academic English. It's testing whether you can understand the kind of reading you encounter in daily life. The TOEFL examiners want to check whether you can understand what an advertisement is offering or what a notice wants you to do. The questions test specific skills, identifying the main purpose of a text, understanding informal language, making inferences, and scanning for details. When you know this, you can focus on the right things. Tip number 2 is crucial. It's one of the most important things you can do in this task, and it's also one of the things most candidates don't do. Don't read the whole text first. The typical approach is to read the text first, then read the questions, but that's actually the slower, harder way to do it. Instead, read the questions first. This tells you exactly what information you need to find. Once you know what the questions are asking, you can go into the text with a clear purpose. You're not reading everything. Instead, you're looking for specific things. For example, a question might ask, what is the main purpose of this email? If you read the question, you know to focus on the opening lines and the overall message, not every single detail. If a question asks, what does the sender want the reader to do? You know to look for action words or requests. Reading the questions first turns your reading into a targeted search, which is much faster and much more effective. Let's continue with tip number 3. Use context clues to understand unfamiliar words. Even though the Read in Daily Life task uses everyday language, you might still come across a word or phrase you don't know. When that happens, a lot of candidates panic and lose focus. The good news is that you don't need to know every single word to answer the questions correctly. You just need to use the context around the unfamiliar word to figure out what it means. Context clues are the other words and sentences surrounding the word you don't know. They give you hints about the meaning. Imagine you read a notice that says this: all attendees must register in advance. Walk-ins will not be accommodated. You might not know the word accommodated, but the sentence before it tells you that people need to register ahead of time. From that, you can infer that accommodated means accepted or allowed in. You don't need to know the word because the context tells you everything. When you come across an unfamiliar word in the test, don't stop and stress about it. Instead, read the sentences around it. Think about what would make sense and let the context guide you to the meaning. Tip number 4 is extremely important. Focus on the purpose of the text. A lot of the questions in the Read in Daily Life task ask about the main purpose of the text. For example, the question might say, what is the main purpose of the notice? What is the writer trying to communicate? What does the sender want the reader to do? To answer these questions well, you need to ask yourself what the point of the text is. Is it trying to sell something, inform someone, or request an action? Take a look at this example. As part of our ongoing commitment to customer satisfaction, we'd love to hear about your recent experience with us. Your feedback helps us grow and continue improving the service you deserve. Here is the question. What is the main purpose of this email? A. To inform customers about a new satisfaction policy. B. To thank customers for their continued loyalty. C. To announce improvements to their service. D. To invite customers to share their opinion. Options A and C are strong distractors. Pay attention, this is a trap. The email mentions customer satisfaction and improving service, but this is not its main purpose. The actual purpose is D, to invite customers to share their opinion. C is wrong because the email isn't announcing anything. It's asking customers to share their opinion about their experience. Once you train yourself to look for the overall message rather than focusing on individual words, purpose questions become much easier to handle. Now, here is something important. Many TOEFL candidates think that knowing a few reading tips is enough to get a strong result, but it's not enough. To do well in TOEFL reading, you need to understand all question types and use effective reading strategies. That's exactly what we teach in our TOEFL packages. Our students get step-by-step guidance on how to approach the reading test effectively, so they feel confident and ready on test day. They learn how TOEFL reading questions are designed and what strategies they need to use to find the answers quickly. Our TOEFL packages include lessons for all tasks, sample answers, mock tests, templates, and much more. If you want expert guidance for your TOEFL preparation, click the link below to learn more. Now, let's move on to tip number 5. Understand informal and idiomatic language. This is something a lot of TOEFL candidates don't prepare for, and it can really surprise them on test day. The Read in Daily Life task uses real-life texts, so the language is often informal. You might see contractions, casual phrasing, or everyday idiomatic expressions that you wouldn't find in an academic passage. For example, a text message might say, "Hey, heads up, the meeting got pushed back to 3. What does heads up mean? It means a warning or advance notice. What does pushed back mean in this context? It means the meeting was rescheduled to a later time. If you only practice formal academic English, this kind of language can throw you off. Make sure you know idiomatic and informal expressions. Pay attention to common expressions and what they actually mean in context. This skill can make a real difference in your score. Here is tip number 6. Scan for specific information. Scanning is a reading technique where you move your eyes quickly across the text, looking for a specific word, number, or piece of information. You don't read everything carefully. It's one of the most valuable skills you can develop for TOEFL reading. Here's how it works in practice. Suppose a question asks, "What time does the event start?" You don't need to read the entire text carefully to answer that. You just scan the text for a time. That is a number followed by AM or PM. The same goes for names, locations, prices, or dates. When you know what you're looking for, scanning helps you find it quickly. This can save you a huge amount of time, and time matters in the reading section. Practice scanning during your preparation. Give yourself a specific piece of information to find in a text, and then see how quickly you can locate it. Tip 7 is to make inferences when the answer isn't stated directly. This is an essential skill, and many TOEFL candidates struggle with this. Not all questions in this task have a direct answer written in the text. Some questions ask you to infer. This means you need to figure out something that isn't said outright, based on the clues in the text. For example, imagine you read a short advertisement that says, "Now open 7 days a week, including holidays. Our friendly staff are ready to help you find the perfect gift." A question might ask, what kind of business is this? The text doesn't say, "This is a gift shop," but you can infer it from the words "perfect gift" and the fact that they're open on holidays, which is when people typically buy gifts. To make good inferences, pay attention to the specific words the writer uses, the tone of the text, and the context. Ask yourself, what does this language suggest? What would make sense given what I can see? With practice, inference questions become a lot less intimidating. By the way, if you want this channel to keep going, write yes in the comments, click like, and subscribe. We only make videos that you actually want to watch. Now, let's continue with 3 more essential tips for the Read in Daily Life task. Tip number 8 is to watch out for telegraphic language. Telegraphic language is when words are left out of a sentence to keep things short and direct. You see this a lot in notices, advertisements, schedules, and signs. Instead of full sentences, you get short phrases that get straight to the point. For example, a notice might say, "Valid ID required at entrance." It doesn't say, "You are required to present a valid ID at the entrance." Here is another example. An advertisement might say, "Tickets available online only." The long version would be, "Tickets are available for purchase online." These shorter phrases can be confusing if you're not used to them, because they don't follow the grammar rules of normal sentences. The key is to understand what they mean even when words are missing. Ask yourself, what is the complete idea behind this phrase? Usually, the meaning is very clear once you slow down for a second and think about what information is being communicated. Let's continue with tip number 9. Eliminate incorrect answer choices. The process of elimination is a really powerful strategy in the Read in Daily Life task. When you're not completely sure which answer is correct, start by identifying the options that are clearly wrong and eliminate them. In many cases, 1 or 2 of the answer choices will say something that is completely unrelated to the text, or something that contradicts what the text says. These are easy to eliminate. Once you've removed the obviously wrong options, you're left with fewer choices to decide between, which makes it much easier to identify the correct answer. The last tip is something a lot of candidates don't think about until they're already sitting in the test. Don't spend too long on a question. The Read in Daily Life task appears twice in the TOEFL reading section, and the entire reading section is timed. That means every second counts. The worst thing you can do is get stuck on a single question. If you don't know the answer to a question, make your best guess and move on. If you spend too much time on one difficult question, you probably won't have enough time for the remaining questions. As a result, your score will go down. To avoid this, make sure you manage your time well. That's it. Those are 10 essential tips for the Read in Daily Life task. If you want expert guidance for your TOEFL preparation, check out our TOEFL packages using the link below. Our packages include step-by-step guidance, mock tests, templates, and other useful resources to help you feel confident on test day. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified when the next video comes out. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their TOEFL score too. See you in the next video!